your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Season 1, Episode 5. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Marvel Plus, the podcast devoted to all things MCU. My name is Brett Scott. I am your host, and this, my friends, is the show. And I've recorded a lot of episodes in the last 2 days, man. I think this is my 4th episode I've recorded in the last 2 days. But I'm loving. I'm breezing right through this series, and I'm killing it with the predictions. I'm killing it. The reason I'm so excited, the reason I have a big grin on my face if you're watching on Patreon is because I never predict things. I do predict things, but they just never actually come to fruition. And in this series so far, I'm killing it. Maybe it's just really predictable, and that's why maybe everybody sees this and they're like, yeah, that's obvious. That's what's happening. But I don't know. Makes me feel good. So, anyway, another great episode. Let's jump into the breakdown. Let's walk through it and talk about it, because a lot happened in this episode. All right, episode 5 starts off. It is confirmed that Otto Octavius is selling his tech to the criminals. And he goes on this big villain speech of he should be just as recognized, if not more, than the other so-called smart people in the world, the Tony Starks, the Bruce Banners, and the least of all, or not least of all, Norman Osborns of the world. It's a full villain rant. He's obviously bitter and angry, and this is how he's going to make a name for himself. Selling these inventions, making enough money to create even more stuff so that he can be recognized with some big grand gesture that he'll probably perform by the end of the season. Moving over to the Norman and Harry story. Harry, it was confirmed for Harry that Peter Parker is Spider-Man in the last episode. So now they have to deal with this. You've got Norman and Peter sitting there very awkwardly waiting for a meeting with Norman. And Harry, did I say Norman? Harry and Spider-Man are sitting there waiting for Norman to come in. And they're just like, well, this is awkward. Norman finally comes in, rushing from one meeting to the other with a quick little meeting in the middle to talk superhero stuff. And that's really kind of foreshadowing what his new idea is. And Norman decides, I think we should bring Harry into the mix. Again, another thing that I predicted last week. You guys might not believe that I didn't watch this episode before predicting it, but I promise you I didn't. I wouldn't do that. I don't know. It would just seem kind of petty to me to just to toot my own horn. Guess what's going to happen. But yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking. Maybe he'll bring Norman in, and that's exactly what he does. He's like, we're gonna bring him in. He can help you out instead of me, because I don't really have time. I'm a busy guy. And so Peter's not really feeling it, but he's like, I guess. What's he gonna say? It's Norman Osborn. So, Harry decides I can be the dude at the desk. And, I kept calling him, Norman, his guy in the chair, right? And so I like the twist on it. I like dude at the desk. Whenever Norman is unavailable, Harry will be there to coach Spider-Man through his various missions. So, yeah, I was right. I'm sure a lot of you predicted that, though. Meanwhile, Lonnie is struggling to make it to football practice, right? He's not making it to practices. I'm guessing at some point he's going to end up missing a game. That's what's going to happen. Kind of possibly ruining his chances at football superstardom in college and in the NFL. And his coach has this talk with him and kind of says man, you're screwing up. You don't. I don't know what you got going on, but you got to get your head back in the game. And Lonnie's like, I know, I will. And but no, So he gets like summoned right right after his coach gives him this whole spiel about how he's got to get back in this and be serious about his football career and the team needs him, all this. And he's like, yeah, I know, I will. And then right before practice that day, uh, the gang summons him, right? Uh, what's his name? Big Donovan. Big Donovan calls him up. He's like, hey, man, you're supposed to be here. Where you at? I'm sending my goons to come and pick you up. We need your help with something. And Lonnie's like, dude, I can't miss any more practice. He's like, get down or lay down. He didn't say that, but not in so many words. But, Lonnie gets the message, like, he doesn't have a choice. So the goons pick Lonnie up and take him. And then we find out later where he's needed so desperately. Harry and Peter kind of start bonding throughout going on, various missions and whatnot. And we meet Mila with her new tech, right? Like, not meet Mila. We met Mila before, but she got new tech from Otto Octavius in that first scene. And it's reminiscent of Rhino, right? It's this thing. It's got a horn on top of it. It's like a helmet. But this thing shoots lasers, right? Kind of looks like Cyclops optic blasts. So, I mean, that was kind of cool for me. I love anything X-Men, But I think this is supposed to be like this world's version of Rhino, right? Like this piece of tech is supposed to be like mimicking the character of Rhino, but she's called the Unicorn, right? She's a unicorn, of course. And the episode is named, Unicorn. So it's like that's a new villain, I guess, the Unicorn. And it's Mila. Mila takes the Unicorn helmet, and she goes and breaks her fellow Russian thugs out of jail that were in jail from the last episode. But Spider-Man arrives, and he ends up throwing down with Mila, the Unicorn. The other Russian most of the Russian thugs run off on their own. They're like, here's our chance to escape. But Mikhail sticks around. He's like, I'm not going to abandon her. I'm going to help her fight Spider-Man. He stays behind and joins the fight. Meanwhile, the 110th Street Gang, the reason they needed Lonnie to show up immediately is they're about to have a little rumble. They're about to have a brawl with the Scorpions, and it's kind of crazy. It's a crazy melee fight. It does remind, I said, like a rumble, right? It reminds me of like West Side Story with like the Sharks and the Jets, because they don't have guns. Like, none of them have guns. It's like, what kind of gangs nowadays wouldn't have guns in New York City if they're like, I don't know. I just feel like they would have guns, but I get it. This is a kid-friendly show. Probably not a whole lot of pistols being pulled in this show. But they don't even have like bats or sticks or anything. They're just throwing down fisticuffs. And so they're going back and forth, and it's a great action sequence of like this gang fighting each other. Lonnie's trying to like avoid fighting anyone. He's just kind of pushing people out of the way and trying not to actually hurt anybody. But it all goes crazy when the leader of the Scorpions pulls a shiv. It's not quite a knife. It's like a little hooked shiv, and it kind of looks like Scorpion's tail, right? It's a little hooked knife. Kind of looks like a Scorpion's stinger. So I like how they're doing this. I like how they're not going straight forward with all these villains. They're like, okay, the leader of the Scorpion gang is kind of like Scorpion. No, he doesn't have a suit and this and that, but he has a little knife that resembles a stinger, and he has a Scorpion tattoo on him. And yeah, I like that. And I like that the Unicorn is like the Rhino, and it's cool, man. It's like yeah, it's just an alternate universe where things are slightly off. They're a little off kilter. They're not what we're used to, but you're still getting the same like storytelling that you would get with Spider-Man, but just playing with different characters, turning villains into heroes, heroes into villains. I love it. This is like what I love about what if stories, right? This is my favorite thing about multiverse stories, is seeing how things turned out when something is slightly shifted, right? Anyway, they're brawling with the scorpions. The leader pulls out this knife and goes after Donovan, and Lonnie steps in front of him and actually saves him. Takes a knife to the arm for Donovan, saving his life. Then the cops show up. Everybody scrambles. They run back to their bases, and yeah, Lonnie and Donovan live to fight another day. So then we go back to the battle with Spider-Man and the Unicorn and Mikhail, and the Unicorn uses Mikhail as bait, but it's really crazy the way she just decides I'm just going to shoot him. I'm just going to shoot him with my Unicorn blast, and hoping that Spider-Man will jump in front of him because he's such a good guy, right? And he does. He sacrifices himself, jumps in front of Mikhail, and saves him. And then Mikhail kind of turns against the Unicorn, right? And takes the Unicorn helmet away. And then Spider-Man takes it away. In the end, Spider-Man takes the helmet, and it's probably taken into police custody or whatever. The cops come, they arrest Mikhail and Mila, and but you can look at the face, right, of Mikhail, and you could tell that this is actually this universe's version of Rhino. He's gonna somehow end up with that. He's going to somehow end up with that Unicorn helmet, and it's going to be a Rhino helmet. That's what it's going to be. So, I thought that was pretty clear. The character isn't named Mikhail, in the comics. In the comics, his name is Alexei. But, come on. It's a Russian dude, a big guy. He's going to end up with with the Rhino horn. So that's what we're dealing with, or it's just a little red herring. It's just a little thing to remind you, in a different universe, that guy would be Rhino instead of his comrade, Mila. Meanwhile, Nico and Peter had made plans to see a movie, and Peter's like, "Oh, I'm late. I got to get there," and he gets there just in time, but after talking with Harry and kind of finding out about his life and stuff, he realizes this guy's really lonely. Yeah, he's got all the money in the world and can do anything he wants, go anywhere he wants, but he doesn't have any friends. He doesn't have, any real friends. He's got a big social media following, but no real life buddies to hang out with. And so Peter invites Harry to come along as well, and you can see that it's kind of bothering Nico. She says, no, it's cool. But yeah, she's definitely bothered by it. She just wants to hang out with her buddy. She wants to hang out with Peter. In the end, Big Donovan is really impressed with Lonnie saving his life, right? Kind of really takes him in, and Lonnie's like, okay, Donovan's like, anything you need, man, what do you want? And he's like, can you just stop calling me Superstar? I hate being called Superstar all the time. He's like, okay, all right, well, you need a new nickname then, right? And one of the guys suggests, we got to call this guy Gravedigger. And it's like, they're about to do it, just like my buddy Ryan Sainio suggested a couple episodes ago. Lonnie has the potential to become Tombstone. And so Donovan bestows the nickname of Tombstone on him, and you see it. Lonnie actually likes it. He kind of digs it, and you can kind of see him actually warming up to this gang a little bit. That's not good. Because Lonnie's a good dude. He's probably the best dude in this show so far, to be honest. Just a legit good guy. And I don't know how they're going to play it to where if he does become more of a villain, like Tombstone, how they're going to do that. Or maybe it's just same thing. That's just a reference for fans. And then, just because he has this nickname while in this game, Tombstone, doesn't mean he has to become one of Spider-Man's nemesis or villains, right? Who knows how it's going to turn out. But I love that they drop all these Easter eggs. It's so much fun. You don't know if they're actually going to follow through with things, but it's awesome just that they included all that. You know, it seems again like it seems like the Marvel writers are fans again, right? Like we got fans writing this stuff, and I appreciate that. I really do. It seemed like for a while they got away from that a little bit, but this, you can tell there's some love here. You can tell that there's some actual love for the source material here. So I love that. Yeah. Great episode. Another great episode. So much happened in this episode. I feel like maybe the most happened in this episode that's happened in any episode yet so far. And it was great. I love where the story's going. I still stand by my theory. And this may be the one thing I end up being wrong about, because I've been right about an awful lot, if I do say so myself. I've been dead on with the predictions. Which is very uncharacteristic of me. If you go back through the years of this podcast, you'll hear a million theories that never pan out. But so far, so good on this one. I'm hitting on all cylinders. But who knows? Who knows? But I still feel like Kingpin is going to be revealed as the big bad. Like, not just Otto Octavius. And maybe it won't be like he's really the big bad, but I feel like they will reveal in that final episode that he was kind of pulling the strings the whole time, maybe funding Otto Octavius so he could start making his inventions, so that he could sell the tech and make more money, etc. But and you know, Octavius had his own kind of game going here. Like he never wanted to be subservient to Kingpin. He was just using him to get to where he wanted to be. But I do feel like at some point they're going to have a Kingpin reveal, and it'll probably be right in that last episode. Maybe even like a post-credit scene or something where they reveal that, yeah, he was either behind it or like watching over it the whole time, plotting. Yeah, great episode. All right, my friends, that is going to do it for the episode. I hope you enjoyed my commentary on it. I want to hear your guys' feedback on this, because I'm loving this show, and I'm not sure that everyone is. I haven't heard a lot of chatter about it. The people I've talked to are either not watching it or they like it. But I haven't heard a lot of people just coming out and saying, man, that new Spider-Man show is awesome. And I want to hear what people really think of it, because I'm thoroughly impressed by it. Thoroughly impressed. Yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're on Patreon, if you want to check out the Patreon, it's patreon.com/Marvel Plus. Become a member. There's a bunch of old stuff you can watch on there, and new videos every week. And yeah, a lot of stuff to come on there too. So be on the lookout for that. If you're a Patreon supporter, if you want to become one, rate and review the podcast. Please do that. It does help the show reach a larger audience. The best thing you can do, though, is share this show with your geeky friends. That word of mouth is the way to make this thing grow, if you want to help me do that. Come check out the Marvel Plus Facebook group on Facebook. It's Marvel Plus Podcast. Just search Marvel Plus Podcast on Facebook. And you can connect with me on social media just about everywhere, searching at Real Brett Scott. Lastly, if you have anything to add, if you want to add your commentary to this, or you just want to chat back and forth with me, or if you want to be a guest on an upcoming episode of this show or any other Disney Plus show or MCU film, then you can reach out at marvelpluspodcast@gmail.com. Yeah, I think that's it. Thanks again, guys. It's always such a blast, and it's so much more fun when the series is really good. So I really appreciate that. Yeah. As always, my name is Brett Scott, and this has been Marvel Plus.